debilitating disease.
It's very depressing.
And a stunning discovery.
A very, very big discovery.
I think I screamed.
The lights went on.
Has multiple sclerosis finally met its match?
Did you say, this is it? Did you jump up and down?
Absolutely excited.
Scientists have been finding...
Avis Favaro with a world-first exclusive.
You can play tennis with your son now.
And what could be a revolution in the battle against MS.
I think that may be the cure for MS.
And
this is a piece about hot lesbian action.
It's raising eyebrows.
And my mother.
And turning heads.
Lesbian action.
Is the theater world ready for my mother's lesbian Jewish Wiccan wedding?
This particular show was so popular.
There's something you should know.
Paula Todd, backstage with the fun and the frenzy of mounting a musical.
So many script changes.
And how one man's mother may have inspired a smash hit.
You may kiss the bride.
This is CTV's W5. Here is Lloyd Robertson.
Welcome to W5. This week, a stunning medical discovery, a revolutionary treatment for a most debilitating disease. It is multiple sclerosis, and Canadians are especially hard hit. Many end up wheelchair-bound. MS sufferers often have trouble to see, stand, even swallow. Now W5 has an exclusive first look at a radical new approach that suggests the disease is not just an autoimmune disorder, as has long been thought. A relatively simple procedure called the liberation treatment could free MS patients from a lifetime of suffering. A scientific breakthrough, but one inspired by love. Here is Avis Favaro.
Amid the medieval churches and castles in the ancient city of Ferrara in northern Italy is a doctor, Paolo Zamboni, who's developed an amazing theory that could turn the diagnosis and treatment of multiple sclerosis upside down.
I am fully convinced that it is very, very important for people.
Dr. Zamboni was trained as a surgeon, but a rare neurological disease left him unable to operate. But it was when his wife Elena began developing the symptoms of MS over a decade ago that he began a new and very personal medical mission. She was having serious attacks where she lost her sight and couldn't walk.
So did you see her spiraling down?
Yes. My hope was to find something that might be operated for her.
And this is what he was afraid would happen to her. These are Italian MS patients at a nearby rehab clinic. The disease has damaged their ability to move normally. It causes them chronic fatigue and vision loss. They say it's destroyed their independence.
I have one leg that I am not able to use, the foot too, this hand sometimes is terrible to ride.
I can't use knife to cut meat. I can't wash alone. It's very depressing, you know.
You can't walk well?
No, I can't walk. I can just use the wheelchair.
Doctors have long considered MS an autoimmune disorder, where immune cells attack the nerves and brain. One of the hallmarks of the disease are these white spots that appear on brain scans, signs of active disease. But no one has ever conclusively proven exactly what starts it all.
For over a century, scientists have been finding unusually high levels of iron in the brains of patients with MS. Most assumed it was simply a byproduct of the immune disorder. But for Dr. Zamboni, it was a clue to something much more important.
For me, what's really unbelievable is to understand that iron deposits in multiple sclerosis is exactly around the veins. So probably is a product of a dysfunction of drainage of a vein. This is very important news because iron is very dangerous.
Dangerous because iron in the brain can cause cell death, inflammation, and immune problems. So using ultrasound, he began to scan the head and necks of MS patients, and that's when he made a key discovery.
In some patients, I found the evidence of narrowing of the vein.
In the neck?
Yes.
So the blood was not draining, and this is in an MS patient?
Yes, just in MS patients.
In patient after patient, he found the same thing, narrowed veins.
So in normal people or people with other diseases?
With other disease, neurological or not.
No narrowing?
No narrowing.
So every single one
yes.
of the MS patients had some sort of narrowing in the drainage?
Yes.
It was a brand new condition, something he called CCSVI, chronic cerebro-spinal venous insufficiency. He found blockages either in the two jugular veins or in a large central vein that sits in the chest, problems that he says likely take root before birth. And when they're narrowed or blocked, blood backs up into the brain, and that, he says, could be pushing blood which contains iron into the brain tissue of these patients. The bottom line, Dr. Zamboni had uncovered a structural defect common in MS patients that could be a possible trigger for multiple sclerosis.
Did you say, this is it? Did you jump up and down? Did you say,
yes,
this is it? This is something
This is a very important factor, I thought, and also that this factor can be treated.
Were you excited?
Absolutely excited. The first things that I did was to present my imaging to neurologists. And at the beginning they were really interested, but when I anticipated the possibility to treat this associated condition, they were not so excited like me.
Dr. Zamboni says many neurologists he approached declined to join his research. That could be because it's a complete reversal of conventional science that says MS is a brain disorder and an autoimmune disease. Dr. Zamboni's work suggests MS may really be at its root a plumbing problem in the veins, with the possibility of a diagnostic test, perhaps even a treatment to unblock these malformed veins. But there was one neurologist who was captivated by the theory. Dr. Fabrizio Salvi likes ideas that are out of the box. And so he began sending his MS patients to Dr. Zamboni for testing. The images of narrowed or blocked veins, called strictures, were irrefutable.
Everyone can see what we found. Everyone can see the strictures.
And one patient he sent was Augusto Zeppi. Augusto had been suffering regular MS attacks for 9 long years, which left him with incredible fatigue and difficulty walking.
E tutto quello che stavo sognando per la mia vita adulta non sarebbe mai più potuto essere.
You thought your life was over. Finito.
Finito. Game over.
Game over.
When he was scanned, both of his jugular veins were 60 and 80% blocked. And so he became one of the first to undergo an experimental procedure to unblock those veins. It's a treatment that he says has restored him to health.
Mi sono dimenticato di essere stato malato.
Really? You don't remember what it's like to have MS?
Sto bene come stavo 15 anni fa, prima di ammalarmi. C'è stato un momento in cui io pensavo di non poter giocare a tennis con mio figlio e poterlo fare.
You can play tennis with your son now? He gave you back your life, ti ha dato la vita.
Mi ha ridato una seconda vita, sicuramente.
Next, going against the world's medical community.
The opposition was really big.
When will a promising new procedure gain acceptance? When CTV's W5 continues. In just a moment, will a new approach to multiple sclerosis make dreams come true? We'll be right back.
This is the hospital Santa Anna, tucked in the middle of the picturesque town of Ferrara, Italy. And you're about to see something never shown before on television. It's an experimental treatment to open up the blocked veins that Dr. Paolo Zamboni and his team have been finding in patients with multiple sclerosis.
So you decided to move ahead with the treatment now that you had made the diagnosis, right?
Yes. Treatment of a narrowing could be a good way for eliminating iron depositions, so dangerous iron stores in the brain.
And MS patients like this young woman are lining up for his research studies. For years, doctors have used tiny balloons to open up blocked arteries. It's a procedure called angioplasty. Dr. Zamboni decided to try a similar treatment in patients with MS who have blocked veins.
Prendiamo l'iniettore, esatto.
Dr. Robert Galeotti, an interventional radiologist, threads a wire through the key veins that drain blood from the brain. Like most MS patients they've studied, she has 2 blocked jugular veins in her neck. You can see one on this scan.
Look at this section and look at this.
A narrowing.
A narrowing.
Yes.
There's a significant stenosis because it's certainly more than 50%.
Doctors then send in a small balloon and inflate it. Once the balloon is removed, doctors watch as the blood begins to flow down normally from the brain.
Wow! No more narrowing.
The blood goes faster than before.
Dr. Zamboni's team has performed this surgery on 120 patients so far, some while the patients were having severe MS attacks, with dramatic results.
Sometimes it was unbelievable because they told us, now I have a normal sensation. I have a sensation of my hands. I have a sensation of my legs again. It's fantastic.
The doctors called it the liberation procedure, la liberazione, the Italian word for freedom, as the operation restored normal blood flow from the brain. For the patients, however, this liberation had an even more profound meaning.
Here is research video taken by Dr. Zamboni's team. It shows an MS patient before the procedure. His right leg is weak and shakes. This is the same man 2 weeks after a liberation treatment. Another patient who drags his right leg before the treatment. A month and a half after the liberation, he has a steadier gait. These are some of the first patients Dr. Zamboni's team has treated, speaking about their experience for the first time.
È un qualcosa di veramente straordinario, secondo me.
Siamo liberati proprio.
You're liberated.
Sì.
Paolo Ricomini has had MS for 8 years. He had 3 blocked veins that were opened 2 years ago.
Bravo.
Che ho continuato a migliorare. Prima camminavo, adesso cammino molto bene rispetto a prima.
Rosella Rampi was diagnosed in 2003. She had 2 blocked veins that were opened 2 years ago.
In una decina di giorni ho recuperato completamente tutta la forza nella gamba.
In an upcoming study of 65 patients with the most common form of MS, many saw a drop in the number of new brain lesions. And in the nearly 2 years following the surgery, 73% of patients had no more MS attacks.
In the first 2 years after the procedure, if you maintain no narrowing in your neck veins or chest veins, you do not have more attack. And you do not have more active lesion at MRI.
Maybe it's a placebo effect.
Patients can be very enthusiastic the first months, the first day after the liberation procedure. I think this can be certainly taken into account. But after 2 years,
the first neurologist to support Dr. Zamboni's work was Fabrizio Salvi.
But you don't think it's a cure?
I think that may be the cure for MS, but I have to be careful.
Most in the medical community haven't yet heard about what's going on in Ferrara, Italy. But among MS patients, Dr. Zamboni's work is the hottest topic on internet chat sites. That's how half a world away in Southern California, the first American patient came to be liberated. Jeff Beal, an Emmy Award-winning music composer, had been withering under the weight of his disease, battling crippling fatigue.
MS is more like this sort of like Chinese water torture, you know? I mean, just kind of like day in, day out, you know, and it's kind of like a slow slope down, you know, the end game's different for everybody, but you kind of know that you're trending down, you know?
Part of his MS was fatigue, terrible fatigue, in which he literally could not keep his eyes open.
His wife Joan spent hours scouring the internet for new treatments until the day she found Dr. Zamboni's work.
Literally, I think I screamed that day. And Jeff can tell you, I was running around the house. I was excited because here was finally something that made sense.
They convinced a local surgeon to test Jeff, and guess what? He had 2 blocked jugular veins. And so Jeff became the first person to be treated outside of Italy.
I remember during the procedure, they were sort of opening, when they were first opening up one of the jugular veins, I sort of felt like the lights went on, you know, in a way, you know, in a very dramatic way that I had not experienced really before. I said, this is interesting.
It's only 5 months after his treatment, and Jeff is feeling stronger.
Something's different here. Whether it was short-term or long-term, but there was definitely some sort of perceptible improvement, and that was incredibly encouraging.
Jeff was so excited to feel like himself again. He would get through the day and he'd be, I'm awake. And suddenly he's playing trumpet duets with Henry, and he's helping Henry with his homework, and he's awake. And there's this presence in the house that hasn't been there for 2 years.
But scientists elsewhere won't embrace this radical new approach until they do their own studies. So researchers at the University of Buffalo actually invited Dr. Zamboni and a group of his liberated Italian patients to collaborate on the largest study of its kind. The Buffalo team, headed by Dr. Robert Zavadanov, is now looking for over 1,000 MS patients from the U.S. and from Canada to scan their necks with ultrasounds and MRIs to find the twisted veins that may be at the root of MS.
The first step is prove that this is true and that it's more prevalent in MS patients than normal controls, which I can tell you immediately I believe it is.
Okay. For Buffalo neurologist Bianca Weinstock-Gutman, it's urgent research.
If this is proven correctly, it will be a very, very big discovery, because we'll completely change the way how we think about MS, how we'll put our treatment on it, and eventually we may see later on maybe other relation of these venous problems on other autoimmune disorders.
But MS societies in Canada and the U.S. have issued cautious statements, saying there's insufficient evidence to suggest that this phenomenon is the cause of MS, and they discourage patients from getting tested or seeking treatment. But Dr. Zamboni insists his study results will eventually win over skeptics in the scientific world.
The opposition was really big, but this was never important for me, because what I did was to continue to accumulate evidence.
And he has important allies here at McMaster University in Hamilton. Mark Hakey, a Canadian who also works at Wayne State University in Detroit, says he too is finding surprising narrowed veins in MS patients from around the world.
And this is the drainage?
That's the main draining vein, and then it gets very narrow, almost like a little hair running down here. That's bad.
And you saw that and you thought what?
I thought Zamboni is on the right track. I was very excited by this because I felt that our finding made sense. I think this is quite a paradigm shift.
And so he's setting up his own scientific study, encouraging MS patients to send him MRI scans of their heads and necks so he can build on Dr. Zamboni's findings.
The patients need to speak up and say, we want to have something like this investigated, at least at an early stage, to see if there's credence to this theory. Even if it's 10 or 20% of these people who can be helped, that needs to be investigated.
But the scientific world moves slowly, and Dr. Zamboni's research suggests the earlier patients are treated, the better the results.
MS is a progressive disease and strikes young people. So if we lose time, there are a lot of young people that progresses without possibility to get back. And this is very heavy for me, really.
But for Dr. Zamboni, this has always been more than a scientific quest. It's a journey fueled by love. His wife Elena developed MS over a decade ago, and she was one of his team's first test subjects.
Immediately. I tested my wife immediately.
And
I found the narrowing.
Elena was also one of the first patients who was liberated from those blocked veins nearly 3 years ago. An intensely private woman, she chose not to speak on camera, but told us she's not had an MS attack since.
In the MRI, we do not have actually disease activity at all. And she returned to completely to their activity.
She's normal?
Yes. If you perform a neurological examination, you are not capable to find neurological deficit.
When you look at her now, what do you think? You think, I helped her?
What I think is this probably the best prize. The best prize of the research.
His best prize, and a gift that Dr. Zamboni now wants to share with MS patients around the world.
Dr. Zamboni's scientific paper on the liberation treatment will be published next week, sure to further the debate on his radical treatment for multiple sclerosis. Now, if you want to learn more about this story, you can go to our website at w5.ctv.ca. You'll find additional information, including useful links. We'll be right back.